Hi everyone, so welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be making a spattled beech bowl. It should have a really nice finish to it. So I've just started off turning the wood here. I am running a slightly different format for this video, and that I'm going to be doing sort of a voiceover. Not through the whole thing, but just sort of to begin with, and then at key stages during the build. So you can see here that as I'm trying to turn the blank, there is a large amount of shaking to the lathe. This made turning the bowl really difficult. You can see as I'm sort of trying to work with it, it's just not liking it. I had to have a very low revolution on this project, and as a result there was quite a bit of stopping and starting. You can see as it's sort of catching on the chisel as I work it. But yeah, it's still sort of turning relatively nicely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the video roll over for now, and then I'll come back to it in a little bit, and yeah, I can talk you through the next steps. So at this point I'm just starting to shape the bottom of the bowl. So you can see at the right hand side of the project I've already cut the groove in for it to sit onto the chuck when I turn out the inside, and now I'm just starting to create the initial form. As with most of my projects, I haven't actually got a thought process in mind, so I'm just going freeform and seeing where the project takes me. Sometimes the blank will just tell me what it wants to do in its own time, and I try to go in with very little conceived plans or notions. It's very much a how I feel it as I turn it on the day, which does actually add to the fun of it. You know, I'm not going in saying, oh, I want it to look exactly like this, just for the simple fact, if anything goes wrong, you don't get disheartened. If you go in with a big plan or a big idea and it doesn't quite go to plan, then it really sort of it disheartens you, because you've gone in thinking it's going to look this way and actually it doesn't. So originally this was going to be just a plain round bowl, but you can see here I'm just starting to sculpt the inside edge, just give it a really nice profile and work my way down towards the base. So yeah, it's starting to take shape. In my mind I'm still not sure really where I'm going with it, but as you sort of see further into the video, it'll then come into its own, and you'll see sort of where I'm going with the design format. So now you can see it's really starting to take shape. We're getting a beautiful sort of edge to it, and it's moving down nicely into sort of a sort of semi-scalloped base. So it's working its way down. You can just see there, just sort of stopped it for a second, and trying to get the base as level as possible. Very difficult with this type of turning. You can still see there the lathe is still bouncing a bit, and it's still being turned on a very low revolution. You can see now just a little camera change, but I love the way that Spalted Beech looks. So I'm happy enough with the initial shape that I'm now starting to sand. Starting from a very coarse paper, working to a very fine paper, and then once that's finished, I can then put in a seal. With this bowl, I'm not sure what I'm going to be using it for, so I have actually gone for a food-safe sanding sealer this time, and that just means that if I choose to do anything with it, I can actually use it for food-related items. I know with the cellulose sealer they do not recommend using it with any type of food, so I've used a food-safe sanding sealer for this one. And then once that's finished, put on a nice coat of wax there, and then it's all ready to flip over, and we can start boring out the inside. So just starting to bore out the inside. You can see there it's very, very difficult. You can see actually the bowl itself is jumping around. It's not keeping perfectly still, and as I get closer to the edge, it does start to actually kick the blade back. It's very, very difficult to get a nice edge on that one. Just smoothing off the outside and just starting to place the groove in now. So this is the groove that I use for something in a few minutes. Not going to give the game away, but I am starting to put a grooved edge into the bowl itself. And that normally goes down, it goes down about 5mm. So a nice good size groove. So just started to sand down again, using a very, very coarse paper to begin with, and then working my way up to a nice fine paper. It is a very difficult material to sand. It's very, very soft, and it chips very, very easily, so there is a lot of finishing work involved in it. And I think in total this bowl had a good 20 minutes of sanding, just to get a really nice, super smooth finish. It didn't help that it was a very low revolution. Of course, the higher the revolution, the smoother the finish. So it did have a lot more sanding involved and a lot more work entailed. But still came out very, very nicely. It's got that lovely edge there. And then it's a bit more unusual in the fact that it's just got like an almost sort of small semicircle cut out of the centre, rather than actually having the entire size of the bowl match the shape of the outside. You know, you'd normally go for a sort of a centimetre thickness throughout and following the shape, where this time I've gone unusually shaped base and then a sort of just small semicircular bowl in the middle. Not the most practical of bowls, but more of a statement piece. And you can see that I can't really hold on to the sandpaper either. It keeps bouncing out my hand due to the very, very low revolution. As it catches the wood, just bounces straight off. So again, just using a very nice, simple, just using a very nice food-safe sanding sealer. This time going slightly differently, so applying it by hand first to get it into every groove and every section, and then going around the actual piece itself when it's powered up. But there you can see that lovely colour change from the raw wood in the centre, and then you've got that lovely sealed wood on the outside, and that just gives it the first layer of protection. You use the sanding sealer, and then afterwards you use a very nice quality wax, and that just gives it a bit more protection and also a bit more durability. So now comes the fun part. So this isn't going to be how the bowl is left. So what I'm actually doing now is rolling out some putty. You can't quite see it yet. There we go. So just started to roll out the putty into a very, very long line. The reason for that is that I'm going to be doing something different with this bowl. I'm actually going to be pouring in some resin. So it's going to have a really nice light blue hue to it. But to prevent the resin just falling into the bowl and filling up the hole I made, I'm putting in some putty first. So the goal of the putty is to stop the resin dropping down into the bowl. What I've done is I've put the putty into the wooden bowl, and then within that I've placed a small plastic bowl, and that should create a nice airtight seal and stop any of the resin from flowing into the void that I've created. Now the only problem is I need a bit of weight in there just to hold the bowl down. So I rummaged through my cupboard and decided to use a quantity of brass and steel bullet casings. So these, you'll remember I did a pendant a few months ago. I made some pendants using the bullet casings, and then had little resin bullets glued in. So these are for more of those types of projects, but they'll work quite nicely as a weighting tool for this one. So now I'm just going to start mixing up the resin. So this resin is a clear epoxy resin, and it's a two-part solution. So you put 2 parts from the black tub in with 1 part of the white tub. Again, with this resin, it's the last sort of 3/4 of a kilo to a kilo of the old resin, which has unfortunately crystallized. It doesn't seem to affect it in the end when I'm turning, but it means it comes out this sort of opaque white color rather than a clear color, and that does make it a bit difficult to gauge colorways and pigments as and when I put them in. So I've just added a couple of drops of the sky blue pigment, so that should give it a relatively nice light blue hue. It's quite difficult to see from this camera angle, but you can just see it starting to change into that lovely baby blue. And then in a few seconds that'll be ready to pour in. So I've already given it its preliminary mix, so it's had quite a bit of mixing, and now it's ready just to pour in. So you can see there, just starting to pour that into the mould. So the problem with the bowl is it's not 100% level. Trying to turn it at a very low revolution hasn't worked perfectly for sort of accuracy, and as a result it is slightly off to one side. That's easily rectified, and I'll be rectifying that after it's cured. And basically all I need to do is flip it over, get the sander out, and just have a little bit of a sand on the base, get it to a nice level finish, and then just reseal it and re-wax it. So that's the resin poured. That's going to go into the pressure pot, and the next time you see the project it'll all be finalised and finished, and yeah, we'll be doing our last little bit for this video. Okay, so there we have our finished bowl. So really happy with the end result on this one. I will admit that it's not 100% finished. I do still need to take a little bit of that lip down where the resin was slightly off center, and just give it a slight polish and a shine to the bowl. You can see there's a little bit of sort of residual resin and some of the filling tack in there as well that needs to be removed. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, I just ran out of time on this one. I was hoping to have it done on Monday, so I had a couple of days to finish. That didn't happen. There was an issue with the resin, which meant I couldn't pour it till Tuesday, which means with a 2-day cure, it's only just cured tonight. And as I'm filming this video now, it is 9:30 in the evening. And then I've got to finish the edit and get it sort of online. So it would have been nice to have finished, but I've just run out of time. But what I am going to do is finish the bowl off on Saturday, and that will go onto Facebook and Instagram, so you can see it in all its finished glory. It's not going to change any further from that shape. It's going to be completely as is. It's just the top's going to be a little bit smoother, and you can see there's a couple of marks there which I'm going to take out. I love the way the bowl's come out. The shape is really smart. I would have liked it to have been a little bit shorter on the base, but you could see in the first couple of minutes of the video that it just wasn't playing ball. For some reason this blank was very lopsided, and as a result of that the lathe was actually moving quite heavily, and you can see in that first minute, 2 minutes, there's quite a bit of shaking to the lathe. I think that was just the wood itself, because if you look at the wood, this section here seemed to be very dense, and this side here seemed to be very soft, very easy to chip. And I think with it being a very hard, dense section and a lighter section, you had that continual centrifugal force that just pushed it sort of around on the lathe. I'm really happy with the bowl. Like I say, it does need a little bit of finishing off, so I am going to do that on Saturday, and I'll put some photos up either late Saturday or early Sunday, just showing it in all of its glory, completely finalised, because I think that's just a really nice sort of way to finish this one off. But I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you have, if you could please do me a couple of favours. If you could like and subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, that'll let you know every time a video goes live. Also check out the Facebook and Instagram, both at Purple Heart Woodturning, and the website as well, which is purpleheartwoodturning.co.uk. So thanks again for watching, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you for the next video.